everybody. Welcome to another Rory pop-up. Yes, I am popping up because it's something I want us to chit-chat about. So come on in. Come on in. Y'all remember when I said that these pop-ups were going to be about things that I could not fit into the read, something I really, really wanted to fit into the read, but just didn't have the room within the structure of an hour. And so now I want to address one of those articles because the internet streets are quiet. They have quieted down. The squatties have gone back to looking at, refocusing on the Invictus games after that ITV scandal. And that's what it was. They were trying to pull a fast one and they got caught out and they have been exposed and everybody knows what they were trying to pull. Since that has calmed down a little bit, I wanted to refocus on an article that I never got a chance to bring to the front, that I never had the opportunity to fit into a read. So we're going to do a real quick pop-up about it, and I just want to see what y'all think about it. And it all started with this post right here. And I found this post and it says, they want Harry back as raw slave and scapegoat. They know Willie is a psychopath and they need Harry to hold his hand and humanize him. Where is the lie? We have saw it. I have just been reading the excerpts of this new book that was in the London Times by Tom Quinn, and we're going to discuss that later on. I'm going to do a pop-up about it. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, but we definitely going to have a conversation about it because it is very interesting, and especially how he portrays William in it. But I digress. This particular article, I think it was maybe a few weeks back, and I didn't have the opportunity to talk about it. But yes, they want Harry back. They do, because they know that William is totally and absolutely unhinged. Behind the scenes, and from what I gleaned from this new Tom Quinn articles, he is petulant. He is angry. He is hard to control. And any little thing sets him off. So I don't see why they think Harry can control a sociopath. I don't know who could. But for some reason, they want Harry to be there to try to balance him out. But all I can say is Harry has his own life. He has his own family. Why would he want to do that? But in their fevered mind, they just cannot give up on that dream. And so they wrote this particular article about Edward and Sophie trying to show Harry a way back, how him and Megan can find their way back to that place over there, to the sunken place. And my whole question to them would be, why would they? Why would they? They want Harry and Megan to give up everything, to come back and offer their neck up to William and Charles's boot so they can firmly put their boot on their neck. It is the most craziest fevered-minded thing that I have ever saw in my life. But I digress. All right, this is the article. And the name of the article is Edward and Sophie were the Harry and Meghan of their day, but after their private careers became a well-publicized disaster, they rejoined the family and knuckled down to turn the public view of them around. Could the Sussexes now follow their lead? No, they could not. Because we all know that Edward and Sophie has never been Harry and Meghan. Never have been, never will be. But I'm not saying that they hadn't suffered under a smear campaign. I really feel that they did in order to bring them back in line. I'll tell you, those excerpts from this new book from Tom Quinn is very enlightening, meaning that it is the powers that be that's in that firm. It's more and more I read about it. It's not in the hand of the monarch as much as it is those courtiers and those senior members, senior staff members. Because it seems to me that they don't do anything but tell these people what to do. They manage them like they are children, and they treat them like they are children. It is weird, I'm telling you. And when you really dig into it, why would Harry and Meghan give up their freedom? Why would they go back into the gilded cage? It makes no sense. But I'll tell you what, it is very rare that anybody escapes from the gilded cage of that firm. Nobody has ever done it before Harry and Meghan. And you can see how they reeled Sophie and Edward back in. They wanted to try to escape a little bit and be half in, half out. But you can see the smear campaign going into action and attacking them and bringing them and reeling them back into the fold. Let's get into it. I'm not going to read that long title again because it is so long. But the article says they were a young couple who wanted to be half in and half out of the royal family, but struggled after their plans ran into difficulties, causing them to be lampooned by the press. No, not Prince Harry and Meghan. This is the story of the Queen's youngest son, Edward and Sophie. Now, my whole thing is this. Sophie is a capable person, but Edward does not strike me as someone who is equally as capable. So I can understand how some of the things that they did went wrong, but it is clear that they were under attack. I don't know if it was under the Queen's instruction to attack them and to, initiate a smear campaign against them, but it clearly was a smear campaign being perpetrated against them. And let's go on and we'll see why I say that. It says, but there are a number of remarkable similarities in the two couples' story. The biggest thing they share is a belief that they wanted to contribute to the royal family from time to time while carrying out their own activities. When Sophie and Edward married, they insisted on not giving up their day jobs, she in PR and he in television production, which was unheard of in royal circles at the time. However, the decision to carve out their own path eventually blew up in their faces after a series of public scandals. Sound familiar? No, not at all. Because what public scandals have Harry and Meghan created? None. They have created scandal around them. Harry and Meghan, they have never put a foot wrong since they've been a couple and since they left that place over there. They have created the chaos around them. And it makes me believe that they created the chaos around Edward and Sophie as well. It really makes me believe that. Because when we get into what they did to Edward and Sophie, you'll see that these people stood no chance. One thing about Sophie, Sophie is a capable person. She absolutely is. She had a successful business when she came into that family. She was a successful PR person. But they did everything they could do to sabotage her, including sending in journalists who was wired and taped her without her knowledge. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Now, it goes on to say and explain that these people went in, taped her. She said some very disparaging things about the royal family. And she also said that if this particular journalist who was pretending like he was a blind sheik of all things, that they would be able to help him because she had these royal connections. So I'm not saying that this person put these words in Sophie's mouth, but he definitely guided her in what the conversation was going to be about. It was clearly a setup, and she absolutely kind of fell for it. But my point is this: why are you sending in journalists to record someone without their knowledge? To me, that is beyond anything that you would do to try to get a story. That's why I said it wasn't about getting a story. It was about the smear campaign. Because my whole thing is, you would do that to the queen's daughter-in-law and feel like it would be all right. It had to be some okays from over there at the firm that they could do that, because that wouldn't have happened if somebody hadn't put a stamp of approval on it. Now, Edward had this thing called the Royal Knockout. He had this show, and it consists of Anne and I think Andrew was in it, and Fergie, and it was, from what I saw of it, it was really, really bad. And from what I can see and gather, Edward was not such terrific at his job. And they did everything they could to destroy them, and they did exactly that, especially in the press. And they came back to that firm with their tail between their legs, just the way they planned that for them to do so. And they did the same to Harry and Meghan. That's why I say it's no similarities, because Harry and Meghan is nothing like them. Because Harry and Meghan has successfully been able to exist outside of that gilded cage for what, almost 5 years? 5 years now, and been very successful at it. And Edward had not been successful at anything. Look at Harry's resume and look at Edward's resume. Look at Meghan's resume and look at Sophie's resume. Like I say, I'm not poo-pooing Sophie's resume, because Sophie is a very capable person. And next to Mumble, she is a genius. And I mean that when you compare those two. But she is no Meghan. I'm just saying. And that is the reason why Harry and Meghan has been able to be successful, because they have always been underestimated. Harry has always been underestimated, and they underestimated Meghan's strength and her abilities, because they never thought she had it in her to be able to be successful outside of the gilded cage. They forgot to look at who she was before she came in there. She was a millionaire. She was a successful actress. She was a successful blogger. She was a success. Probably, it's no telling how much money Meghan had made just in investments. She was a multi-millionaire when she came there. And they really thought that this woman who had built this kind of wealth was not going to be able to exist outside of this gilded cage. And this man like Harry, who had done all the things that Harry had achieved, he was not going to be able to exist outside of this gilded cage. Harry built the Invictus game from whole cloth, Cinnabale from whole cloth, Travelers from whole cloth. And you really thought that he would not have the wherewithal to be able to exist outside of the gilded cage? But in their mindset, in their fevered dreams, they wanted to believe that. And Harry and Meghan has been the only people who has been able to do it. They have not been able to reel them back in by using smears and creating chaos around them. Miss me saying that Harry and Meghan is anything like Edward and Sophie. I want to put up the picture of one of the front pages of one of those rags. Now, this rag is out of business, the News of the World. But this is some of the headlines that they were, just attacking Sophie. And she just could not hold up under it. She didn't have enough of a backbone, and she definitely did not have a man like Harry. Edward is no Harry. I'll say that time and time again, because Harry meant that he was going to protect his wife, and he meant what he was going to do, and that was to get away from that family. But you can see they had Sophie the tapes, what Sophie really said about the royal family. Then they had how she used the royal name to boost her firm profit. And then they had her gay PR partners, boys, and and then they mentioned saying that they were using drugs. Every shocking word Sophie uttered to our sheik. Yes, they absolutely just went in on them. Those flying monkeys did, and they had to go back. They absolutely did. They had to seek the protection of the firm. They went back with their tails between their legs. But look at all the stuff they have thrown at Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan has no intention of going back. They really thought within the year, y'all remember, because they gave them that year to come back, and they threw everything at them, including the kitchen sink, and they never ever returned. They haven't looked back. They have only leveled up and leveled up and leveled up. And I just know it is so frustrating to them. And they still have these fevered dreams that someday, one day, Harry and Meghan will return. And this is their way of showing Harry and Meghan how to come back. Give up everything. Give up your mansion. Give up everything and then go. Because in this article, they talk about how they need to go to these really remote places and really put in the hard work without, having the glamour of, the press following them. They just really need to slog it out. And then people will then in return respect them for the hard work that they put in. That's what they saying. Give up everything and come back and do that, and then we'll love you again. All I can say, if you don't think they love, turn on the phones. Start listening to your people. Because every time a show like Jeremy Vine opens up its phone lines and asks a question about Harry and Meghan, the people, the good people of Great Britain, let them know that they still love them. They don't have to come back. They don't have to slog it out. They see what has gone on, that they don't believe anything of all the negative things that they have been writing about Harry and Meghan. So all I can say is Harry and Meghan is not Sophie and Edward. Don't get it twisted, because Harry and Meghan has been the only couple that has been able to escape, be successful, and thrive and continue to thrive and level up. But they absolutely cannot let go of the dream that Harry will come back and try to do something with that sociopath of a future king that they got. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. Bye.